Recently, I played the finals, which revitalized my craving for a competitive shooter. Looking at my games library, I found Overwatch and decided to give it a go and make a video about it. However, after recording hours of footage, I came to the realization that I wasn't enjoying myself. I used to love Overwatch, and I didn't feel that same affection as I did when it first exploded onto the scene. Maybe my reflexes aren't as sharp, and the fact that some heroes teleport, zip, and slide all over the place, I can't keep up and I wasn't having fun. So I thought about what I wanted to do next and looked at what I liked about the finals. Tactical destruction, meaningful gadgets and abilities, focus on gunplay and teamwork, and being able to sprint. I know what you're thinking, that sounds a lot like Battlefield, but I don't want to play 2042 again, so that'll have to wait until Battlefield 6 arrives in October. But there was one other shooter I played a lot of that involves all these things, and it was released almost 10 years ago. It's time to revisit Rainbow Six Siege, look at what made it so special, and what's going on with it now.
C4 set. One on four remaining.
When Siege was released in 2015, it was both a truly unique experience and a sign of the times. A tactical, multiplayer shooter which focused on a fast time to kill, destruction, and strong teamwork and coordination, as well as a paid multiplayer game with no single player and an early version of what we know as live service, with new operators and maps being added throughout the year, though a battle pass and shop would arrive a few years later in 2019. Back in the day, Siege was great, but not without problems. Hit registration, bugs, and T-posing were common to see, which prompted the developers to introduce Operation Health, an entire season dedicated to fixing the game to a more polished state. It might have taken a couple of years, but Siege would recover. It was the kind of game where communication was key, so having a squad ready to go was important. Unless you wanted to jump into voice chat as a solo and deal with all the racist, misogynists, and children who team killed any chance they got. Which they could because there was no real punishment at the time. Siege was truly in a rough state when it was released, but what's it like now? The main mode in Siege is Bomb, a 5v5 game mode with one team attacking a site while the others lock it down and try to stop the attackers from defusing. The first team to win 4 rounds, wins. At the start of the game, both teams pick an attacker and a defender to ban for the next few rounds until the teams switch sides. If you plan on defending a site with external walls, it's probably best to ban a hard breacher and say Thatcher or Twitch, so they have a harder time getting into site. The prep phase is crucial to winning the round. Attackers use drones to find the 2 bomb sites and identify defenders, keep an eye on how the other team sets up the site, where they place their gadgets, and how they might try and get some cheeky picks from a window or doorway. Defenders have access to entry denial, intel gathering, and defensive operators like Kapkan and his trip mines, Frost who can place bear traps to down operators until they pry themselves out of them. Valkyrie can throw cameras around the map, and Rook can pass out armor plates, which gives defenders a little bit extra health and the ability to self-revive themselves if they go down. Attackers like Thermite, Ace, and Hibana can breach reinforced walls, Jackal and Yana can route out defenders and scout ahead for the team, while Nomad can cover her back with traps that knock opponents down, and Gridlock can lock down a site for defusal by throwing bouncing spiky traps, which damage any defenders that step on them. There's usually an operator for any playstyle. I would say they're balanced fairly well, though there are some ops that are stronger than others. IQ for example is useful, but will likely not cause anyone any problems. Blackbeard on the other hand, will terrorize you unless you brought C4. I will say that Siege is not friendly to newcomers. The sheer amount of operators and their counters, big and often labyrinthine maps, and the amount of site setup some twat has seen in esports tourneys and will berate you if you don't follow his plan, does not make for a relaxing game to play. Siege is like a college course. It takes a lot of work and research, and most of the time you learn as you play. Quick play does help with this as the sites are more or less set up for you, although even then, they're not the best setups out there. Siege is about creativity and thinking outside the box, and doing things so stupid the other players will shout, "Why are you there? Who puts that thing there?" and "Oh for fuck's sake." Being unpredictable is key to surviving Siege. Once your map knowledge improves and you get better with site setups, it will all click. I'd recommend watching some Siege YouTubers like Varsity Gaming and Gwen, who've been playing for a long time, made tons of videos, and will definitely help you with map knowledge and setups. Most of the time when you lose a gunfight in Siege, or lose a round, or an entire game, you can pinpoint exactly what you did wrong and why you lost. Maybe it's your bad aim, it's your bad recoil control, you didn't set up the sight enough, everyone was somehow on site and there was no roamers. You can pinpoint everything that went wrong and you can fix it for the next game. In my fairly limited experience, shooters typically have a difficult time with sound. A more recent example is the finals. Overall, the sound design is great, except for identifying other players. You can be running around a building and not know if the footsteps that you can hear are coming from you or somebody round the corner. It is infuriating. On the flip side, Siege is king when it comes to audio cues and sound design, maybe tied with Hunt Showdown. If somebody is running around above me, not only do I know where they are, but how far away they are, whether they are crouching, running, or even using a gadget. Gadgets also emit sounds which are incredibly useful and can turn the tide of a fight. Thermite's breaching charges that can blast through reinforced walls make a hissing sound and take a few seconds to explode, giving you enough time as a defender, for example Bandit, to counter the charge by placing a battery. Kapkan's trip mines emit a low humming sound when you're close to them. It's not totally obvious, but if you're sneaking around as an attacker and you hear it, it could mean the difference between life and death. The excellent sound design leads to some tense moments where you can hear so much around you but have to plan for every fight.
Setting up.
One friendly remaining. Bomb diffuser in place. Diffuser located. Protect the bombs and disable the diffuser. One op 4 remaining. Your location has been compromised. All friendlies were eliminated. Mission failure.
I was shaking for a good couple of minutes after this game ended. Even though we lost, I could not stop smiling. There was no bullshit we lost to, it was just players outwitting each other with the tools they're given. And that is something truly special. So Siege has been going on for a long time, and they've added plenty of operators and maps. Well, case closed, video over. Hey wait, what's Dual Front? Dual Front is new with Siege X. It's a 6v6 game mode where attackers and defenders can be on the same team and each team has their own sites to defend. Essentially, what you're getting is 2 games of Rainbow Six in one. This all boils down to attacking the enemy team's base while protecting your own, and it's okay. Most of the time I was running around for about 30 seconds to a minute, not finding anyone with nothing to do really, except just reinforce a site or potentially try and attack another site. I spent a lot of time walking around trying to find someone to shoot or something to do, but I just gave up and went to my own team's base, barricaded, reinforced, waited around for a bit, got bored, Went to the other team's base, got shot, waited 30 seconds to respawn, and then basically did the same thing again. The game mode itself is fine, it just needs a little something extra in it. Sure, there are things that pop up in game, like extracting a hostage and getting them out safely, but I don't know what this game mode needs. It needs something to force teams to fight each other. I think it's a good start, but it needs a lot of work. Maybe having a smaller map would do it some good, but I don't know. I can't see myself playing it all that much. Dual Front to me seems like the kind of game mode that new players will get their teeth stuck into to get them used to the game itself before going into unranked or ranked. Siege is all about intense battles in game, but it's also been fighting its own nemesis, cheaters. Whenever cheating in games is mentioned, Siege is always picked on for having the biggest problem. They've put in a lot of effort over the years to developing anti-cheat, and every now and then in game you'll see a feed of all the people banned for cheating, which is reassuring. But if you look on Reddit or YouTube, the situation is the worst it's ever been, and people are leaving Siege mass exodus in protest. It's just, to my knowledge, I haven't encountered any cheaters. Maybe they've been subtle in how they've been cheating, or maybe I'm not in a high enough lobby, who knows. But from what I have experienced, it's not that bad. Although I did come across someone on the other team claiming his teammates are botting, which, after hunting one of them down, yeah, they were just standing there staring at the sky. This was only on Dual Front though, I wasn't playing ranked or anything. On the surface, Siege looks like a realistic shooter. Well, look closer, big dog. The skins range from cool to crap to crazy, and they skirt the line of betraying its aesthetic. And the battle pass is just... Okay, seriously, what the fuck am I looking at? How can anyone understand this? The skins can also be very, very pricey, and this was before Siege became free to play. I don't care about skins, but if you want to dress up like Rick and Morty or Lara Croft, then all the power to you and all the money to Ubisoft. There's also a bit of a grind to collect operators for newcomers. Ubisoft does offer free operators by completing challenges, which takes the pain away a little, and older ops cost less than new ones. This doesn't mean they're any worse. The older ops are still some of the best you can get. Shout out to Legion, Ace and Aruni. Time to collect all 75 operators, I guess. In February 2018, VG247 reported that Rainbow Six Siege devs wanted the game to last 10 years and have 100 operators if all goes well, and there'll be no plans for a sequel. That's an impressive goal for a game that had 27 million players at the time, allegedly. Fast forward to 2025 and the peak on Steam over the past 30 days is around 100,000, which is still a respectable number and not a dead game by any means. Well, it's creeping up to 10 years later, so how's Siege doing? At 75 operators, it is well shy of its target of 100, but I'm okay with that. Having to balance every operator and create synergies and counters with all of them is a challenge, and the devs have struggled with that balance over the years. Considering the amount of ops, they're doing a great job. However, shield operators are still a huge nuisance if you're not well equipped. And I still feel like defenders have an advantage, despite attackers having the option to change operator depending on what defenders they're up against before the round starts. If Siege wants to reach that 100 op target, they'll have to continue for another 6 years at least. But with Siege X making the game free to play and releasing Dual Front and revised audio and map designs, I can't see them stopping anytime soon, and I admire the commitment. With each season over the past 10 years comes balance changes, new or reworked operators, and occasionally a new map. While I dropped off Siege for a few years, I'm truly glad to see that it's surviving and thriving after all this time. It feels like seeing an old friend again that you rarely speak to, but when you see each other after a long period of time, it feels like no time has passed at all.